Well, hi. This is the second introductory video to the series COVID-19 Common Sense, which I started back on the 6th of March. And in the general introduction, I just mentioned that there's two reasons that I'm doing this, that I felt concerned about this. And one is that I want you and your loved ones and me and my loved ones to survive this and thrive after this. And also, I want us to consider what we'll need to do once the most serious part of this crisis is past. I mentioned in the previous video that the sequel to all of this will be very, very long lasting, to say the least. In my previous introduction, I said something that may have appeared a bit, what would the word be, conceited, perhaps, or arrogant. I said that I'm pursuing this because I haven't found these thoughts presented strongly in public and social media to this point. And it could be that they have been, and if they have been, great. It's just, I don't know everything's going on out there, and there's a lot going on out there. Nevertheless, I hope that this series will be valuable to you and give you a slightly different angle on what's being said. And so, in this second part of the introduction, I just want to focus on that goal of doing everything I can to help you and your loved ones, and me and my loved ones survive this. And that's first priority, obviously. And in the other videos that I've already done in this series, I sometimes referred, I don't know how, ironically, to the advice that we've gotten to wash our hands. And I want to state right here that I recognize and always have recognized that washing our hands is significant and important. But I want to say that I believe that focus on washing your hands and washing your surfaces as being the priority, the number one thing, to the extent that has given people a false sense of security about where they could go and what they could do, is deadly incomplete information. I believe it has given many people a false sense of security, thinking that they can go out, they can go into public places, and they can come home and wash their hands and maybe wash their clothes and wash their faces and everything, and really be okay. And that is just simply not true, because this is primarily an airborne pathogen, and I have been amazed that we haven't focused more on that particular aspect of the vector of this COVID-19, this coronavirus. And fundamentally, what I am focusing on in the subsequent videos in this series is the importance of taking steps, number one, to strengthen our own ability to resist, deal with successfully airborne pathogens wherever we may be. And number two, to stress the types of things we can do beyond strengthening our own physiological and psychological abilities to resist, that we also recognize what we can do to eliminate these pathogens before they ever hit us, to the extent that is possible. Now, obviously, social distancing is one method that is put forward, but I will have something to say about that. In fact, I will say that right now, so you can hear it. In the United States, now I don't know how it is in other countries in the world, more or less, but in this nation, the primary means of air conditioning is a central air conditioning. Sometimes there's no summer air conditioning, it's just winter heating, but it's a central system that depends on the circulation of the air. So, just as an example, you could be in your favorite grocery store, you could be staying, you know, 20 to 30 feet away from any other human being or animal for that matter, and you could still become infected. Why? Because if there's any other human beings in that store, and there will be, probably, unless you broke in after it was closed, let's say that one of them sneezes on the far side of the store. And let's say that the air handling system happens to have a return register there, meaning that the air will be sucked up into that return register, will be either heated or cooled and redistributed throughout that whole space via a fan and via distribution registers. So the COVID virus is not going to die just because it has been sucked into a return air register and redistributed throughout the store. So it could end up, you could end up breathing in COVID virus infected air even though you don't get close to anybody. Now, in subsequent videos, I will talk about how that's possible, because you'll say to me perhaps, well, hey, I know that those systems have a filter. That is true. But do you happen to know what the safest filter for those systems might be? Do you happen to know how often that particular place is changing those filters? Okay, number one. And do you happen to know the humidity that is maintained in the relative humidity of that air in that space? Because that makes a big difference. And do you happen to know if there are any other antiviral or germicidal facets of that air distribution system? And in closing, I just want to say that some very bright person, sorry I don't have the reference, I'll give that in a subsequent video, but said, the definition of modern central air conditioning systems is very efficient systems for spreading disease. And that is what we are confronting. And believe me, it is on an equal level of importance to avoiding catching the virus, avoiding contracting it. So I'll give various other details in subsequent things, but just keep that in mind, please. Wash your hands, but also make sure your body is as equipped as it can be to resist the onslaught of pathogens, airborne or other. And number two, that you do everything you can to make sure the air that does get to your body is as pathogen-free and as healthy for you as possible. Please keep that in mind, and do not think that you can go out into public spaces or contact other people and come back and just wash your body and your hair and your clothes and your hands and think that there's no danger for you. It is not true. Anytime you go into a public space where other people are breathing, even if you keep a great distance from them, more than 10 feet, you still are at risk of being contaminated, still at risk. And I know this is not good news for the valiant people who are keeping the grocery stores open, for example, and who are staffing the hospitals, the emergency rooms, the urgent care facilities, the elder care homes, etc. Not good news for them. But there are things that can be done in those spaces to reduce significantly the risk of infection for the people who are working there. And I hope those things will be done, and be done rapidly. It's already much later than it should be. So that's it for this edition of COVID-19 Common Sense. And in a subsequent edition, I will talk about where the name Common Sense comes from. We'll talk about Thomas Paine a little bit, and something he wrote called common sense. All right, signing out now from beautiful Superior, Colorado, in Boulder County, Colorado, USA. Talk to you later. And this is Alan Rao signing out. Bye-bye. There we go.